The fire is already lit. Sit down, breathe, and listen. Have you ever noticed how some people become uncomfortable around you, even when you've done nothing wrong? They look away during deep conversations. They change the subject when you ask questions that go beyond the surface. Or they simply distance themselves, as if your presence were a silent threat to their world. That night, Jung revealed something that would change everything. There are minds that naturally disturb most people. Not out of malice, not out of arrogance, but because they operate on a frequency that the common mind cannot process without feeling exposed, inadequate, or forced to confront truths it would rather avoid. Jung discovered that certain mental characteristics function like an unconscious mirror, revealing to average people exactly what they chose not to develop in themselves. If you've always felt different, misunderstood, or as if people react strangely to your presence, perhaps you possess one of these 7 characteristics that Jung identified in the most disturbing minds. Sign 1. You think in layers. Jung said, superficial thinking is more convenient than deep knowledge because it doesn't disturb. The first sign is that you naturally think in layers, while most think in straight lines. When someone says, "I'm fine," you automatically hear what wasn't said. When they present a simple solution, you immediately see the 5 complications they ignored. According to Jung, this is what he called vertical thinking versus horizontal thinking. Most people move horizontally across the surface of reality. You move vertically through layers of meaning. And this frightens people who built their lives avoiding depth. Sign 2. You question systems. Jung discovered something disturbing about human nature. Most people prefer the security of conformity to the freedom of questioning. The second sign is that you instinctively question systems that others accept without thinking, not out of rebellion, but out of genuine curiosity about why things are the way they are. You ask, why do we do it this way, when everyone assumes it's always been this way? You see patterns where others see coincidences. You identify contradictions where others see consistency. According to Jung, this triggers what he called existential anxiety in people. Your presence reminds them that they chose to stop questioning. And this is terrifying for those who built their identity on certainty. Your questioning mind mirrors their intellectual passivity. Sign 3. You're comfortable with paradoxes. Jung said, the ability to endure paradoxes is the mark of a superior mind. The third sign is that you can hold 2 contradictory truths in your mind without fragmenting, while most people need to choose a side to feel safe. You understand that someone can be kind and cruel simultaneously, that success can be prison, that solitude can be company, that weakness can be strength. But here's what Jung discovered. Average people need absolute certainties to function. They categorize the world into good, bad, right, wrong, us, them. When you operate comfortably in the gray zone, this destabilizes their entire mental structure. Your capacity for paradoxes exposes their infantile simplicity. And this is intolerable for minds that depend on absolute divisions to orient themselves. If this makes sense to you, leave a like now.
Sign 4. You see hidden patterns. Here's where Jung made a shocking discovery. Some minds can detect unconscious patterns that others don't even know exist. The fourth sign is that you notice when people are repeating themselves, even when they don't realize it. You identify destructive cycles before they complete. You predict reactions based on wounds they don't even know they carry. Jung called this archetypal perception, the ability to see the unconscious scripts that direct human behavior. But here's the problem. When you mention these patterns, people feel exposed, as if you had invaded their mental privacy. They can't deny what you saw, but they also can't tolerate that you saw it. Your pattern perception reveals their illusion of control. Sign 5. You embrace your shadow. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And here's the 5th sign, perhaps the most disturbing of all. You recognize and integrate your shadow aspects instead of denying or projecting them. You admit your capacity for cruelty. You recognize your selfish impulses. You accept your manipulative, envious, or vengeful parts, not because you're proud of them, but because you understand that denying them only makes them more powerful. According to Jung, this is what he called shadow work, the most terrifying process a human being can undertake. Most people spend their entire lives projecting their unacceptable qualities onto others. They need external villains to avoid facing internal villains. But when you integrate your shadow, you become whole, and incomplete people cannot tolerate the presence of someone whole. Here's what Jung discovered. When you accept your shadow aspects, you stop judging others' shadow aspects. This creates a presence that is simultaneously compassionate and ruthless. You see everything, but condemn nothing. And this is absolutely terrifying for people who depend on judgment and denial to maintain their self-image. Your shadow integrity mirrors their fragmentation, and they prefer to avoid you rather than face their own demons. Tell us in the comments which of these signs impacts you the most. Your experience might awaken others who feel misunderstood. Sign 6. You think long-term. Jung observed that superior minds operate on different temporal scales than common consciousness. The 6th sign is that you naturally think in decades, while most think in days. You see the long-term consequences of present actions. You understand that small choices accumulate into destinies. When everyone is celebrating immediate successes, you see the future problems they're creating. When they despair over momentary failures, you see the opportunities forming. Jung discovered this creates a disturbing dynamic. Your temporal perspective makes you seem simultaneously too pessimistic and too optimistic. Pessimistic because you see problems that haven't manifested yet. Optimistic because you see possibilities that aren't obvious yet. People trapped in the immediate present interpret this as intellectual arrogance, as if you were pretending to be visionary. But here's the most disturbing part. Jung realized that people with different temporal perspective live in a unique loneliness. You're constantly a few steps ahead or behind the emotional time of people around you. They can't follow your perspective, and you can't slow down to their speed. This makes them feel intellectually inadequate and you temporally isolated. If you've made it this far, it's because your mind operates differently from most people. Subscribe for more insights that mainstream psychology doesn't dare to explore.
Sign 7. You prefer truth to harmony. Jung said, Everything real is reasonable, and everything reasonable is real. The seventh and final sign is that you prefer an honest and uncomfortable conversation to a harmonious and superficial one. You can't sustain small talk for long, not because you're socially inept, but because your mind automatically goes to more meaningful territories. You ask questions people didn't expect to answer. You offer perspectives they didn't ask to consider. According to Jung, this is what separated the individuated from the non-individuated, the willingness to disturb false peace in the name of authentic truth. Most people value harmony above honesty. They prefer comfortable lies to challenging truths. They build their social lives on tacit agreements not to disturb each other's illusions. And then you appear, unable to participate in this conspiracy of comfort. Your preference for truth exposes their intellectual cowardice, and this forces them to choose, evolve, or avoid you. Most choose to avoid. Jung understood something profound about the evolution of human consciousness. Not everyone is ready for the same level of psychological development. Most people operate in what he called collective consciousness. They think the thoughts everyone thinks, feel the emotions everyone feels, follow the paths everyone follows. But some minds naturally transcend this collective consciousness, not out of moral superiority, but out of psychological necessity. They can't function on the surface because they were built for depth. Jung realized that these minds serve an evolutionary function. They are the explorers of human consciousness. They map psychological territories that will one day become accessible to all. But pioneers always pay the price of loneliness. They always frighten those who aren't yet ready for where they've already been. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are." And if you recognized your mind in these 7 signs, understand, you are not broken. You are not strange. You don't need to become smaller so others feel bigger. You are simply someone who operates on a different frequency from common consciousness. And this naturally creates friction, discomfort, and sometimes fear in those who haven't yet developed this capacity. That night, watching the flames dance, a final truth revealed itself. The loneliness of differentiated minds is not punishment. It's the price of authenticity. And perhaps, just perhaps, your disturbing presence is exactly what the world needs, not to conform to mediocrity, but to inspire others to transcend it. That night, I understood that minds that frighten are minds that awaken, and awakening others is both a gift and a curse. And since then, whenever the world weighs heavy, I return to the fire. See you soon.